A lot of people have been asking why it is that Universal decided to make their Fantastic Beasts land into a Ministry of Magic land. We'd like to clear up some of the details there, and no, it was not as big of a change as you would think. And we are confirming that Eddie Redmayne is returning. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter from That Park Place, and here with me is wizarding expert Mr. VashSky. Vash, what's more springy, an Elder Wand or something with a Phoenix core?
I would think something with a Phoenix core.
I don't know. I really don't know. That's why I asked you. But the first thing that we want to get out of the way for anyone who might be wondering, yes, Eddie Redmayne, the star of the Fantastic Beasts movies, will be in new scenes for whatever they're doing here at Universal. And they are going to be tying it back to the Harry Potter films. But this article from Entertainment Weekly by Joey Nolfi, released just a few days ago, we're going to get this out on the channel as soon as we can. But there's a lot going on with Disney these days that we need to make sure happens here. EW has confirmed that Redmayne filmed new scenes as Newt Scamander, while Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint also appear in Epic Universe's preview. So that is saying that they will be in the preview. This is also not an indication of where they will be in the story and everything here, but there's more details. Obviously, this is a land that heavily relies on the existence of the Fantastic Beasts films. Epic Universe has been, as Bob Iger famously said, it has been in the works for over 10 years, and he was well aware of everything that was going on over here. The Fantastic Beasts films have been abandoned or refit several times over. They started out as one film that was maybe supposed to have 5 films or maybe supposed to be 3 films. It changed as they went along, and then the series started to move away from Newt Scamander into something that's supposed to be the battle of who cares. Honestly, I'm sorry, forgive me if you're a Fantastic Beasts fan. I'm not a Fantastic Beasts fan. I have watched Crimes of Grindelwald, and the greatest crime is that they had a movie with amazing special effects that I could not follow for the life of me. I think Nagini was in it, but I'm not sure. They were going to 5 films, and then they went back down to 3 films. This is a kind of a, we'll call it a turn of fate here. So why is Eddie Redmayne here? Well, Eddie Redmayne is here because they signed him between the first and second movies to do this land. And this land was originally going to be the France land, and it is the France land. It was also originally going to incorporate the Ministry of Magic. Vash, would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that. We have some tweets to that effect if you want me to bring them up right now.
Oh, yeah, sure. Alicia Stella was talking about this recently, and she's always a great resource on Universal News.
Absolutely, 100%, and definitely the most trusted name in Universal News, that's for sure, as she would self-proclaim. Alicia Stella, I've seen a lot of folks presume the land was designed to be all Fantastic Beasts, but since the films performed poorly, they changed the main ride to London instead at last minute. But that is not the case. British Ministry was a part of this land since before the park was announced. That's a very interesting statement right there. We had heard, I think for years, that they may have pivoted at one point. They, might have, as Alicia Stella notes, but it's interesting that the basic fundamentals of the land were always in place. She goes on, setting the record straight, this land was designed to feature both the Ministry and the French Ministry since at least 2018. Before the second Fantastic Beasts film was released, British Ministry was not a last-minute change due to box office reception, but maybe cutting the second ride.
There it is. Right there. The French Ministry, which I think is in the film. I can't remember if it was the French Ministry or the American Ministry that they spent time in. First one takes place in America for the most part. But I can see them, because this is Comcast that is making this decision, along with J.K. Rowling, about a property that is owned by Warner Brothers. So if this decision was being made completely in-house, the way Star Wars decisions are made by Disney would go ahead and say, well, we are going to build the theme park land because the theme park land will make the film popular. We're going to go ahead and do the film because the film will make the theme park land popular. This is 2 separate companies working together, making decisions that are fully aware of how popular the other is at the time. They have the option of having their eyes open here. It's an advantage that they currently have over the Walt Disney Company because they're dealing with someone else's intellectual property. But sorry to interrupt there, Vash. I just thought that was a good point to bring up.
Oh no, you are completely fine right there. I had the very similar sentiments and same opinion. It's very interesting how these two companies kind of have to, I wouldn't say agree, but their approach to the franchise will be different, obviously, because it serves different purposes. She goes on, we may someday get another ride set within the French ministry to replace the cut concept, and we may still get a great dining hall show. Personally, I think the land is stronger with these concepts as it feels more like a hub to get to multiple wizarding locales via the Metro Flu. What she's referring to is this other tweet right here. With the creation of the Metro Flu concept, which allows guests to travel anywhere or when in the Wizarding World, the original plan for the land would have still been set in Paris, but with a Flu station to go to the British Ministry and another to Hogwarts for Great Hall dining. The Metro Flu is key here as it allows Universal Creative to transport you to not just any place, but any time at that place, which we've talked about this in another video, but it's a stark contrast to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, for example, that's set at one distinct place at one distinct time, to the frustration of many Star Wars fans.
Right. Well, most Star Wars fans, unless you're counting the people who like the franchise right now. We could rag on Star Wars this entire time, but we're going to, even though that land was created to try to be a response to the Harry Potter lands, we're going to have a video very soon talking about Disney's future plans for Star Wars at the parks. And I think you know exactly where we're going with that if you're a fan of the channel. Now, the thing that I want to point out is obviously Imelda Staunton will be playing Dolores Umbridge, which would put the ride here, Battle for the Ministry is probably the name for the ride. And also 1920s Paris. Obviously, the time travel aspect is going to play a part here. And the rumor is that Dolores Umbridge somehow gets a hold of a time turner during that ride. Actually, let's go ahead and talk about that for just a minute here. The story for that ride. The ride puts guests on a journey from Paris to the British Ministry of Magic for the trial of Dolores Umbridge. Visitors enter through the organization's grand atrium, as seen in the Harry Potter movies, ahead of the trial until things go wrong when Umbridge attempts to escape. Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Hermione Granger, and a house elf named Higgledy eventually accompany riders along the pursuit of Umbridge. They have been asking about whether or not they'll actually be appearing here for the ride. And the question is, if they do appear, obviously these actors, this and actress, are a little bit older than they appeared in the films. Now, they did age during the course of making those films, but what are some of the ways that they could have been incorporated here?
I think naturally the expectation might be through CGI, in which I think we were talking about this before this video here, Jonas, that you were suggesting that they have been using CGI as part of the pre-shows or part of the actual shows for quite some time, and that is absolutely very true. But with new technologies emerging like AI, perhaps, I don't know, do Ron, Harry, and Hermione, and Newt, do they even have to appear at all? Could we get a representation of them generated by AI for this specific theme park purpose? That's a very interesting idea. Obviously, we could do the same with voice too, in a way that we necessarily couldn't with CGI alone.
Right. And I'll give you, for instance, when you go on Hagrid's motorbike adventure, there's a 3D effect on the screen when you're looking at Hagrid and Arthur Weasley enchanting the motorbike in order to put a dragon flame coming out of it. And you don't ever see Hagrid in that way in the films. Usually you're seeing either a stand-in who is very large and you don't get a good shot of him. Watch the first film for these are the kind of effects they also used in the Lord of the Rings films for the Hobbits and Gandalf being in the same scene together, where if you see Robbie Coltrane talking, it's generally in close-up. Well, in that attraction, you don't have that option because you're supposed to be looking at a person on stage. So it is a CGI creation with Robbie Coltrane's face put on top of it. So there's many different effects that they could use in order to achieve that. I wonder if it'll be a mostly CGI rendering with a digital face mask or something like that. Now, Eddie Redmayne is the proper age, to use the Pirates of the Caribbean phrase here. And if we had to guess where he was appearing, it would probably be in the Cirque Arcanu. Sorry, I didn't mean to use the American infinitive there. Musée de Curiosité Vivantes. This is the stage show that is, you would go in here to the middle, but obviously the tents are small, and then you're going into a much larger facility to see what's going on there. Let's read the description here. Outside of the main ride, the Ministry of Magic section will feature a live show, Le Cirque Arcanu, billed as a full-scale theater experience with live performers and aerialist puppetry, special effects, and fantastic beats appearing throughout the production. I'm gonna assume that they're not making a hip hop joke here, and they meant fantastic beasts appearing throughout the production, which follows Ringmaster Scamander after he steals Newt Scamander's suitcase. I think this is probably the moment in which Eddie Redmayne's Newt Scamander appears. And I'm going to say he did a pretty good job in the movie, despite the movie not quite hitting on all cylinders there. We've talked about the second ride that so far is not happening, which, of course, if they had room for a second ride, they still have room for a second ride. The Great Hall, which is probably still coming, because who would not want to eat inside the Great Hall? Vash, is there anything left that we need to talk about as far as Eddie Redmayne, Fantastic Beasts, and this land?
Yeah, this land specifically, we covered a few of the things that they may have left out in the video touting this new land, and we forgot to mention this the descriptions as associated with this land. You can actually see that right now, the Le Goblet Noir, but you can see some of those descriptions for those now infamous locations. In Bar Moonshine, this is very interesting. Apparently, you're going to have exclusive beers, wines, cocktails served amid U.S. Quidditch team pennants and other items of Wizarding Americana. Jonas, I think you were saying that this is the first time that any...
Yeah, the American school. Ilvermorny is the American school, which I've often joked that I went to Ilvermorny whenever I'm asked. I'm a Slytherin if you go by the... Actually, no, I'm a Ravenclaw by the tests, but I'm the only Slytherin in the house, just so we can vary it as far as having a little splash of green here. That being said, yeah, I wonder if they'll actually have Ilvermorny merchandise being able to be sold here at Bar Moonshine. Of course, I'm always against the only location that you can get a certain piece of merchandise being a bar at a theme park. But it's fascinating to see things like this, and whether or not they will actually talk about the American side here. Of course, if Universal does another theme park here in the United States, which they have enough land that they could do that, maybe they're saving Wizarding New York for that moment here. The question will be whether or not this land, and I just have to point out, Diagon Alley did exist in the books, but it took Universal's ingenuity to bring it to the American experience, to where guests come in over and over and over again, wanting to see how they did it, wanting to explore all those little things, do the little wand experiments, go through all the shops. Obviously, the Beauxbaton or Beauxbaton robes will be available here, probably for the first time. If not, Universal, get on that. There are still corners of the Wizarding world left to explore, not just here, but if they have a possible fourth theme park there. As we've often said, Disney doesn't need to be as worried about Epic Universe, but the idea that Universal Studios could come and do this yet again down the road while they still can't seem to get their existing parks working. That being said, we want to throw this to our commenters. What do you think about this? Does this make you want to go back and watch those Fantastic Beasts films? I feel like I need to, out of obligation, so that I can figure out what's going on here. But you let us know your thoughts on this entire situation in the comment section down below. Like this video if you have appreciated this additional information, and of course, if you haven't, maybe hit the notification bell and consider subscribing to That Park Plays for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.